So I like have to include this. No way right before this video. I'm just throwing singles on the banner. Because I'm like, if an early E2, pretty good. You know, the damage increase is actually pretty good at E2. So I'm like, you know, I'll do a few singles, build pity. If I get it early, cool. I'm going to stop at like maybe 20, 30. I'm not even lying, guys. I'm not even making this up. I'm not even making this up. This actually just happened before I hit record. This really just happened before I hit record. I will show you my pity. My pity is not that high right now. It is, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 34. This is an early Tribbie. This happened with Aglia too. So, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even mad at all. I'm actually really happy. You know, enjoy the video. What is going on? We're sitting here back with another Honkai style video, and today I'm here with my first impressions of the character that did release about a week ago, being Tribbie. I know I'm a bit late on this. I didn't really get the chance to record practically anything for the last couple of days, so I'm finally bringing my first impressions of Tribbie. So like my other first impressions, I'm gonna be talking about what I kind of thought before the character release, you know, while I was in like the beta and such phase, leading up to the release, on the release, and now being practically a week after. I just want to be talking about it like I do in every other first impressions video, and maybe my impressions will help you influence the decision if you do want to summon. Obviously, my cases of how I use my units are going to be different from you, different investment, all that kind of stuff, so don't take everything completely personal. This is just my own personal first impressions. Before I get to the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell icon for future videos like this, and let's just get straight into it. So first, obviously talking up to the lead up when we did get some info on how Tribbie was going to work. A lot of people were pretty iffy on her. She didn't really seem like it was going to be like the next like game-breaking Harmony character, because you know, every time we release a Harmony character, we're like, oh, it's going to be the next game-breaking character. And usually that is how it goes. You know, we've had Sunday, who's been absolutely absurd. We've had Robin. I think the weakest case was definitely Sparkle, but even Sparkle on release for a long time was super good. You're able to do a lot of things. I know a lot of people like to talk down upon her, but I think she was really good. Obviously, it's not as strong as the other ones we do have now, but definitely a lot more downplayed than she should be. But again, the general point is most Harmony characters are practically always game breaking. So we were looking for the Tribbie, we got our kit. A lot of people actually weren't hyped for her, but I definitely did have a lot of kind of hope in her. I definitely saw like a lot of potential in her, just because I thought about, yeah, these characters, you know, some might give a bunch of attacks, some might give, you know, like Sunday, Brodia, Sparkle, a bunch of crit damage. But I found the way she worked definitely being very unique, how she provided more of a general buff that everyone can use, while also being a sub-DPS in herself. So if you pair that with some other buffs that might be on the field, I thought like maybe if you pair her with actually having Robin all up and you do a double duo Harmony setup, you can actually make Tribbie herself do a lot of damage, and that ended up being the case. So I thought she was going to be super powerful because she gave access in her base kit, everyone all type res pen, which is usually something that no one gets in their base kit. It's very rare to see a unit actually giving that or just even having that in their base kit. Usually it's something unlocked from Eidolons. So seeing that in a base kit was definitely going to be something good, and is a very unique case to actually have. And additional damage is literally going to be good anywhere. Any team you do run, additional damage is more free damage. And on top of that, on top of the additional damage, the zone in her ultimate actually just makes enemies take a free 30% extra increased damage. Can't remember the exact values when it was in beta and such, but everything she did provide just seemed like it was going to be good on any team. And then again, with the follow-up attack she was able to actually do, definitely saw her to be a very powerful Harmony character. A lot of people didn't really seem to like be too much of like just looking into her. They're like, oh, Robin stuff, could be better and all that such. I definitely thought she was going to be crazy, so I'm pretty sure that ended up being the case. She didn't receive too many changes from what I recall when it was going through, like, you know, the kit changes and such. The most unfortunate thing is it did greatly reduce the fact that you were able to spam ultimates and have her spam her follow-up attack, as she was able to before be able to actually use a follow-up on any time somebody uses an ultimate. You didn't have to use your ultimate to refresh it, but in a later change they made it to where Tribbie was only able to launch a follow-up once per ally ultimate, so you have to use her ultimate to refresh that duration. So you can't spam someone like Argenti all and just have it go over and over, unfortunately. So it did kill a bit of the fun, but I definitely thought, like, you know how people get, people doom post all the time. I thought a lot of people could doom post her. A lot of people were saying, oh, she's going to be completely useless now. I was like, definitely not going to be the case. And lo and behold, it definitely was not the case. So finally, seeing more gameplay, I definitely thought, yeah, she's really good. And then I'm not even going to talk about her Eidolons. Yeah, I want to save that for later, just because, you know, we already knew her E1 was going to be absolutely busted, as that is the only other real damage of Source being true damage, because the only one that also provides it is the Remembrance MC. So her providing all all that she already did, plus the true damage, was just gonna be something beyond absurd. And so if you had that, you were practically expecting to have this character that's practically just going to jumpstart any team's damage you do. It just could be that much higher. So leading up to the stuff, watching the E0, S1, E0, S0, E1, S0, all that kind of gameplays, getting to test it myself for a little bit, I definitely thought she was going to be just completely broken. I definitely was like, yeah, this character is insane. Even at E0, while you get a big power jump in E1, thanks to the fact that you get true damage access, even at E0, she is just so goddamn good. From the res pen, you get the additional damage, enemies taking more damage, and the constant fall protect you can get. Because let's be fair, even though they did remove the fact that you were able to spam follow-ups, you weren't able to do that anymore. There's really only one character, practically just being Argenti, that you're able to do something with that with. It did kill some fun you could try on other teams, but that was really the only team that would ever actually benefit from it. Usually every time, you will only end up proccing one ultimate throughout the first use of Tribbie's ultimate and then getting the refresh after. By the time you use someone else's ultimate, you probably already have Tribbie's ultimate, depending on how you build her. So it honestly wasn't really a big thing. But yeah, seeing how powerful she was at E0 with just like a dance light cone, how easy it was to have her ultimate uptime with her light cone because it was changed to be more energy, because then she's able to set up her ultimate buff practically right away and then get it back easily in time. Seeing all the stuff she could do, especially with the signature even alone there, and again, DDD, very, very powerful on her. Testing that before, and then once it finally released in game, I was just super satisfied. I was like, yeah, this is definitely one of the most broken characters for Harmony, just because everything she provided was just so strong, especially with how much damage she can deal and how frequent she can actually deal it. Really, really helpful at wiggling enemies down. It actually does hit pretty damn hard as well. On top of that, these levels I tested her on a bunch of teams. So all these levels I tested her on different teams. You know, I've tried her with the Feixiao follow-up team, Pure Hyper Carry, Bunch of Sustain This, Aglia, Yunli, even old DPSs like Zele, Jingwan. All these teams I got to try it, and practically on every team, she's just such a broken slot in, especially if you go that extra mile and trying to do a Sustain This run, which is significantly more difficult, obviously, because you have to have a bunch of stuff playing together, going good, doing enough damage, timing your stuff properly, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of sustainless teams, depending on the unit, can be difficult, but on those teams she is just such a broken slot in. So literally everywhere I was using her, she was just so fantastic. Like, I could not get enough of just putting her on any team, especially seeing how good she was with old DPSs. Seeing how much damage they could do on sustainless setups or just specific setups, she was doing absolutely fantastic. I didn't test too much on E1 pre-release just because I knew it was going to be insane, and she was already doing so good to the point I could already get like a rough estimate on how good she'd be. But obviously I ended up going for the E1 myself, and I fed it in right away just because I've tested enough at E0 already. So having the E1 on my account, having it without the signature light cone for a little bit because I had to wait a little while to get her signature light cone. And I was right, the access to true damage just made everyone do so much more damage. Her at E1 is just such a game changer practically for people that may not have like other characters. Like, you may not have Robin and such, maybe you didn't want to get her or whatever reasons you may have had. Tribbie is already a great slot in there, especially if you can push that to E1. If you're able to push that to E1, Tribbie is just literally broken everywhere. She's already broken everywhere, and she just becomes that much more broken everywhere. Honestly, it's really hard to argue who's at the top of the best Harmony characters because, you know, each of them have better uses elsewhere. No one's replacing Robin on a follow-up team, although some can. Just that level of output Robin brings to that team. No summon character is going to be as broken as they can be without Sunday, and those characters are really good at slot-ins, but I think Tribbie is definitely the best slot-in for any team, just because she literally works anywhere. You can't really use Sunday with someone that's not crit DPS, so you can't really use Sunday with like a Doc character, or you can use him with Buta. I was gonna say Break, but you can use him with Buta, but with Firefly and all that kind of stuff you can't. But with Tribbie, especially if you have E1, you can literally put her on the Dot team because true damage will be good. You can put her on a Break team just to screw around with it. It actually does pretty good as well. With or without the E1, with or without the signature, she's just so good at E0 S0. You have the light cone, very fantastic, still really good. And then if you have E1, you get this huge amount of extra damage on top of what you already would get. And so just getting to see the absolute sheer numbers I was able to by using E1 S1 Tribbie in the end, probably have to say is my favorite Harmony character in the game, just because of how much she can provide, just how much of a slot in you can put her, because again, she just goes on every team. You're not really ever gonna use someone like Robin with Mide, because like Mide is gonna be HP scaling. You'll never use Robin with someone like Blade either, because he's also HP scaling. But Tribbie, she doesn't have a specific thing. She doesn't buff attack, she doesn't even buff HP either, she doesn't really buff any of those. She gives all type res pen, which everyone will benefit from. She makes enemies take more damage, which everyone will benefit from. Makes enemy take additional damage, which is just free damage in the end. Does good damage herself. And then if you have the broken E1, you now have also extra true damage, which once again goes with literally every single DPS you can think of. The true damage with the additional damage, with the enemies taking more damage, with the all type res pen, and also doing good damage herself is why I definitely do think she is the best Harmony character in the game. But again, it's really hard to say that because a lot of people will benefit from someone like Robin more, because there's a lot of cases where one is going to be better than the other. I definitely think she just is the best because of how much more unit versatility she would have, just because again she literally works with everyone, as opposed to Robin, who still does work with everyone almost, just minus the HP scaling characters, which is very few right now. We have Blade, who you practically never will run anyways. We have Mide, who's going to be the next really good DPS, and Robin will not go with him as she does not buff HP or just gives a big attack buff that he doesn't really want. And from what it does seem, Castress is also going to be HP scaling, so and Robin will not be really used there. And so perfect for that is going to be the Tribbie buffs that buff all-type res pen, make enemies take more damage, have additional damage, and also can do damage herself. Already super good right there. Unfortunately, she doesn't increase any stats like that or anything, but everything else she does provide is already so strong. And then if you do have that broken E1, she does actually end up giving even more damage thanks to the true damage. And I haven't been saying this, but if you do also have her signature on top of that, you are giving everyone crit damage. Unfortunately, not everyone is going to benefit from the crit damage, so every DPS that isn't a crit DPS will obviously not benefit from it. So a dot team will not benefit from that crit damage from the signature. Break team that isn't Bootail won't benefit from it either. But that's a Lycone thing that could easily be changed by if you're using something else. If you're using DDD, that benefits everyone, providing that you do have the right tunings. So Lycone's a bit different to factor in, just because that's something that you don't actually have to have on her. While if you activate the E1, that's just a permanent buff. So different to consider because that, again, that's not really a part of her kit. You can also, again, argue that Eidolons are not part of the kit either, but it's, you know, just something there. But yeah, if you do have the Lycone, if you're running a crit DPS, which most of the time you will, that's going to be another buff you can get. Unfortunately, not as universal as maybe providing something else, but it's still definitely powerful considering a lot of teams she's on are going to be crit-based DPSs, as that's most of the game. And so yeah, I definitely do think that at E0, okay, I should really specify this, at E0, S0, E0, S1, I definitely think characters like Sunday, Robin, Tribbie, definitely very tied, which on its own is amazing. The fact that she's that high is insane. But I definitely want to say at E1, I definitely think she does become the best, just because she's already doing so much, and that extra true damage she can provide for the entire team is just insane. Even at times you're doing a dual DPS setup, you're doing sustainless setups, whatever you're doing, it just, that true damage is just absolutely absurd. So I definitely think at an E1 level, I feel like she is definitely going to be the best in the game. Pre-E1, definitely still think she is tied for the others as like the same tier. But again, that's just my first impressions. I'm very satisfied. Definitely my favorite Harmony character to use as well, as just because I love sometimes just going back and using old units and trying to make them work as best as possible. And the fact that she could allow that as well is just insane. Running a sustainless comp with them to this day and 2025 later, getting around the 2nd year anniversary almost, and be able to use these units from all the way back when as an almost day one player is definitely very refreshing to see. I know different levels of investment can change that regardless of the unit, but to see a character that could already do a good amount for them in their base kit, or old DPSs and new DPSs alike, and then have that much of a power boost just from an early dupe is very nice, because you do get a lot of value out of that dupe. And also, thankfully, you really don't need the dupe. I definitely think E0 Tribbie is already complete. Building her properly, you will definitely be good to go even at E0 S0. You just get a big power jump if you are doing something like E1, and even the Lycone, because the Lycone does provide you the easy way to always have ultimate uptime, and also make her not run an ER rope as she's able to become more of a DPS on that case. So, Tribbie, first impressions, very satisfied. But yeah, that's the video. If you guys summon for Tribbie, E1, E0, whatever you summon for, definitely let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think she is as strong as other people are saying, or people like me are saying? Because a lot of people I am seeing now definitely do agree she is one of the best, if not the best. So, if you agree or disagree, feel free to discuss in the comments below. Peace out.